I stand out here in the wonders of the unknown at Hadley, I try to realize there's a fundamental truth to our nature. Man must explore. And this is exploration at its greatest.
I'm from Holland, where the fuck you from? I'm from Holland, where the fuck you from? Don't care if you're from England, Sweden or Japan. So what if you're from Finland? You and your friends. I'm from Holland, where the fuck you from? I'm from Holland, where the fuck you from? Americans come for notice, coffee shops and the weed, or the #1 drug called ecstasy. I'm from Holland, where the fuck you from? Said I'm from Holland, where the fuck you from?
I think they know where you come from. You definitely come from Holland. Today we welcome Adorján Harmse.
That's correct. That's correct.
It's very nice to see you here. I've got a little note here that you might be doing something unusual at the very beginning. Is that the case?
Well, not necessarily, but you may be wondering what this guy from Holland is doing, because you were expecting a Hungarian company, which is basically real sex and your neighbor. But you know, the interesting thing is Hungarians are amazing people. They're extremely talented, you know, in and around the World War. When developing the atomic bomb, there was basically 2 languages spoken, Hungarian and German. I don't know why. I'm still trying to figure out. They're not good at one thing. You know, there's this joke, who are the best in the world, who are the world champions in marketing? The Austrians. You know why? Because they made the whole world believe that Hitler was a German, but Beethoven an Austrian. Mm-hmm. The Hungarians are a bit the opposite. They're extremely good at making amazing stuff. And that was the challenge and the reason why I was very thrilled to join the i4p in the beginning of this year. Because, you know, I do have a Hungarian mother, so I'm cheating a bit. I'm from Holland, but I'm half Hungarian. My wife is Ukrainian, to make it even more complicated. But I have a great amount of international experiences. I speak depends what you consider a separate language. And if we're talking about the former Yugoslavia, that's a delicate issue. But I do understand Russian. And be careful, whatever South Slavic dialect you speak, I will probably understand 80 to 90% of what you say simply by knowing Russian at a pretty decent level. And that's of course very helpful. Now, to get to the issue, the challenge is huge, because this company makes something that is a niche in a niche in a niche. You know, IT security is already something that people, don't really like to spend money, but they start to understand that it's a necessity. And that's why I basically want to discuss these are the 2 main questions that you have to answer. And the answer will not always be yes for everybody. But why is hardware-based security better than other options? And why, if you already chose a hardware solution, why would you choose this obscure little small vendor from Budapest, which people know is a fantastic and a great city, but probably don't immediately associate with high-grade internet security? But I would like to answer, and again, the answer will not be yes to both questions for everybody. You know, it's like what I always like to say: if you live in a house alone, like you're a bachelor, you don't have a family, you don't have much valuables, you know, you're probably fine with a decent lock. You will not buy a 5,000 euro lock and a 50,000 euro alarm system. But if you have a family you care about, if you have valuables, then you may consider that. It's basically the same here. And we live in a very dangerous world with a lot of bad players around. And we have some solutions that are, in some senses, actually globally unique. So we definitely, this is basically how our flagship product looks. It's an HSM. Nothing sexy about it, but we think we achieve some pretty sexy things with it. First about i4p. We're pretty young. We're technically not a startup anymore. We were founded in 2014. But what I always like to point out, we were founded by the former owners and expert professionals of Hungary's first QTSP, Qualified Trust Service Provider. And that's very relevant because those are people who really know a thing or two about security, about certifications, about certified solutions. So what do? We develop applied cryptography solutions. We have 24 people now in engineering, sales, and support roles. So we're really not a big company, but really punch above our weight class, definitely. Now the goal was, the previous company of our owners was sold in 2013. And trust service providers are very, very heavy HSM users and cryptography users in general. The explicit goal was really to, after trying basically maybe a few very small exceptions, but basically every HSM on the market, to create one that is really friendly to work with for users, for admins, and for developers. Now that may sound very banal, but it is not. HSMs, and this is probably one of the reasons why people are very often afraid of HSMs. They don't want, they're afraid to burn their fingers. Well, don't, at least not if you choose a Trident HSM. So I'll go through this very quickly, but for those of you who are not very familiar with HSMs, what is it? Well, cryptography, you probably know. I'll just go there quick. It's from real cryptos. It's anything that's hidden. So it's secure communication amid adversaries. So the best and most probably still speaking example is the Enigma, obviously. HSMs are basically dedicated devices which are hardened, so both on a logical and on a hardware level, to create, manage, and protect cryptographic keys, which literally, that's why they're called keys, hold the key to your secrets. They perform encryption and decryption functions, and they're used for example, digital signatures, which is pretty hot now, especially the remote version because of COVID, authentication, PKI code signing, secure payments, endpoint encryptions, and we can go on. So what are there are some alternatives, obviously. You can basically store keys without any dedicated solution, hardware or software. Well, we would definitely not recommend it to anybody, not even if you think that you don't have any particularly valuable information, because you do, in any case. You can choose key management systems, and that is actually a good and valid solution for a lot of people. Typically, you manage your keys in a software system. It's convenient, it's good, but obviously less secure than an HSM. Also, and this is one of the reasons why they're somewhat less secure, typically keys and data are stored on the same device. HSMs are hardware-based, not always. I mean, there is such thing as a cloud HSM or as HSM as a service, but we will not discuss those today. But by definition, even if it's as a service option, they are more secure because you're talking still about a dedicated device. And very important, HSMs, unlike key management systems, are more strictly regulated. So there are several international certification standards that are subject to, which again increases the level of security. So why is hardware still king? 3 reasons. Security. And I like this expression. It's not mine, but I like to borrow it. Every key is just as secure as how you store it. Remember my example? You install €5,000 lock and a €50,000 alarm system on your house or your office, and you then put the key under the doormat. So you may have the best system and the most secure system in the world, but basically compromising is a child's game. The second reason is compliance. This is particularly true if you run any service that's subject to auditing. In those cases, very often an HSM as a service or cloud HSM solution will also not be an option, because the auditor typically has to be given physical access to the solution and integration. Now, this is already a little bit typical to our Trident HSM. So we know there are more HSMs in the market that offer a range of integration solutions, but we specifically designed our product to be easy, not just on the user admin level, but very easy to integrate it. So for developers and engineers. So one of our unofficial slogans, another one is, we tried and we think we achieved in creating an HSM which was created by engineers for engineers. Which means that, for example, you can run your applications within the HSM. And for us, this is a standard feature. So it's not something you have to pay extra for. So why? Why choose? If you already, so this is a calculation that everybody has to make. Is it worth for me? Because obviously the cost will be higher if you choose hardware security. Then why i4p? Well, the first reason would be is that we offer competitive prices. So we may offer more, but not for more money. But for competitive price, you will get advanced, in a few cases ahead of the curve, and in a few cases even globally unique features. I'll go into that in a bit more detail in a minute. We offer extreme security, but the user friendliness that I just mentioned at those three levels. And you really have to take that very literally. So we literally tried to do anything that's possible, obviously within the boundaries of a certified solution, because certification obviously comes with a lot of restrictions. But within those restrictions, we really went to great lengths to achieve maximum user friendliness. We offer a wide range of supported algorithms, APIs, and integration features. Now I'll go to that in a bit too. And very important, if you have the best solution in the world, but you don't have a good certification policy or no certifications at all, you will not sell many products. So that's very essential in our industry. So what about those unique features? Well, one is like one that not all of you may have heard about, but multi-party cryptography is typically one of those. It's something that's ahead of the curve. It's in the Gartner. It's in several Gartner hype cycles. I believe in 5 or 6, like before the peak. So it will likely reach its plateau of production in 5 to 10 years. But we already have several clients who are making use of this or are extremely interested. We received, that's a few months ago, we received an email out of the blue from SWIFT. You may have heard of them. That's the international organization that regulates interbank and international transactions, and we were like shocked. And when we went on the call, it was a WebEx call, I believe. There was 8 of them. So if a company like Swift is that interested, then we're probably onto something. Now, why is it unique? There are a lot of solutions and services around which apply multi-party computation and/or cryptography, but no physical HSM in the world offers MPC as a native feature. What it is able to achieve, I'll get back to in a minute. I think this is so important that we dedicated a slide to this, so hang with me. Another one, and this is a surprising one, two-factor or multi-factor authentication, is actually a unique feature for physical HSM. It's actually quite shocking. It's like, if you buy a car in 2020, you can expect like seatbelts and airbags. Now, we think this is kind of that level. You know, an HSM is used to store very high-level secrets, and in most cases, basically, the users and admins can enter with a simple password. We think that's not okay. So from day one, we said no. We need to support, and it's done in a very friendly way via TOTP, for example, a simple code generated by Google authenticators. So the user does not necessarily have to. It can be integrated with a lot of different options, but it doesn't. There's no extra burden on the user. There's a lot of options here, which I will also come back to in a minute. Local client application, I just mentioned it. Run your own or third-party applications within, basically in a Docker container in the secure environment of the HSM. This is a great feature, and all our more tech-savvy clients and integrators, they basically love this feature. Post-quantum algorithms, we had our colleagues from Germany on the show yesterday. They think for some reason they were the first. They're not. We already had post-quantum algorithms last year, so we were ahead of them, but that's okay. Let them think. Let's not make the Germans angry. We know what happens then. Just kidding. Another unique feature, neither certification is unique, but the fact that we have both for one device is unique. And why is this very relevant? So our Trident HSM is certified against 2 eIDAS protection for crypto module, for signal activation module, or SAM. Together, they allow our users to offer qualified remote signatures. Now, that's, again, a very hot topic because of COVID. There are several other certified solutions, but you would always need an HSM from one vendor and the SAM, the signature activation module, from another vendor. Now, that's great, that's fine. Those work, nothing wrong with them. We, although, believe that our solution, because this is a one-vendor solution that is more integrated, more logical, more coherent. Again, our clients notice this when they start integrating. If something fails, and stuff fails, I mean, that happens. You know where to go to, and there can be no finger pointing because it's all developed by us. So let's go back to multi-party computation, because that's really, or multi-party cryptography, which is basically the applied version of this mathematical science. It's also called threshold cryptography. Now, what does it do? I mean, multi-party cryptography means that the key can have several or has several owners. And there is no whole key. There are key parts, which, as you can imagine, can lead to a higher security level. For example, a root key or a master key. If you don't want to trust that to one person, not even yourself, then you will basically say, okay, there's 3 people each holding a part of the key, but we need 2 out of 3. That's a threshold to decrypt, or to, well, not put a signature, because signature signifies a natural person, but to put a seal, the company seal. But it also will offer, and this is something that, here you can see that this is something that's still ahead of the curve, but we feel that a lot of use cases in the direction of e-privacy, so GDPR, e-health, that it will contribute to a great number of new use cases in that direction. A key part, so an MPC key can be generated in 2 ways. The somewhat less secure, but still very, very secure trusted dealer method, where a key is created and then split. And the original whole key is deleted, or the distributed Miller-Rabin, which is a pretty daunting mathematical challenge, where basically the key is already generated in a distributed way. So there is no whole key created ever. The key is created in parts. So you need for this at least 3 devices, and there will never be, the whole key will never exist in one place at any point in time. Now, the implication of that is that even if one HSM will get compromised, the data that will be derived by the criminal, basically, the hacker, whoever, will be useless because it's only part of the key. It's like, again, let's go back to the example, your house, you cut your key in 3 parts. What can you do with a third of the key? Pretty much nothing. So those key parts that are very important is that they are used to, the result will be the same. So it's basically a standard, for example, RSA 2048 key, which will be generated, only the method is different. So what kind of configuration we offer? And again, here we have something that others don't have. Obviously, there's the standalone configuration. One HSM, perhaps with another one simply for redundancy, but basically in a standalone version, or they can be clustered active-active, active-passive, with several nodes. And a really exciting one is obviously the multi-party cluster, where you can have on-site redundancy, geo-redundancy. Theoretically, you can say, I put 3 HSMs in different data centers on 3 continents. Now, HSMs don't get compromised very often, but it has happened in the past. The odds are not very big, but what are the odds of an HSM, let's say one in a data center in North America, one in Europe, and the third one in Australia, of them getting compromised at the same time? 0. Integration, a very, very essential issue. I will not go through the whole list. You can read them on the screen. We basically support every major industry standard. PKCS 11 obviously is a major one. So for developers, this is absolutely a fantastic piece of device to work with. And one more thing that I wanted to come back to is our continuous certification cycle. So we did not just certify, we actually already did it twice. We did our original common criteria certification against those 2 protection profiles there. Here again, for crypto module and signature activation module. We did the first time, we started actually in the end of 2017. Now, the common criteria certification round at the L4+ level, this is what we're talking about, is 1.5 year plus. And actually for us, that was about what it was the first time. We did a recertification, which we started in the beginning of 2020, I think in the middle of March, and it took us a little bit less than 6 months. Why? Feedback of clients. Basically, our clients had a wish list of features that they wanted included in the CC restricted version. The client asks, we deliver. Basically, that's our attitude. Now, we will obviously not have a major update every year in the future, but we do plan to have a major update at least every 2 to 3 years, and minor updates 1 or 2 per year. That's our goal. Very important for trust services and then for privacy related services. We are EIDAS listed as a QSCD, a qualified signature creation device, which basically follows typically 1 to 2 months after every CC update. That's basically an administrative issue. And we also have initialized the FIPS 140-3, so certification under the new standard. Now, we don't think that one will be very quick either, so we would be very happy to have that by Christmas next year, but that's probably even still a bit too optimistic. Now, this is something I should definitely not forget because there's a lot of players here, not just poker players, so the letter L for all of you. And I can imagine that we get some questions because this is not for many of you, this is probably the first time that you hear about us. So did we get any questions? via chat. No?
Okay. Adorján, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.